Hi friends, welcome to Meals with Maria. In honor of Memorial Day, we're going to be looking at some World War II era recipes today. In honor of Memorial Day and those who fought and died for our freedom, I figured we'd look at some World War II ration recipes today. During World War II, they rationed sugar, eggs, meat, butter, bacon, all the things that are good, right? We just didn't have a lot of them. But what was plentiful was potatoes and carrots, and mostly potatoes and carrots. Rationing meant that if the items were available, you could get some. Households would get coupons in order to buy these things, and they could get, a little bit of eggs and a little bit of sugar and some meats, but just not as much. You didn't get to get as much as you wanted. So there was a lot of interesting recipes where we're trying to supplement out meats and normal things that you would eat, or sugar, lower the sugar, and create something out of mostly potato starches. It's a very starch-heavy era. I tried my best to put a modern twist on what that rationing would look like. Now, there was one recipe that pops up all the time when you search World War II recipes, and it's wheaten pie or Wharton pie. It's Lord Woolton. And it was based off of the English Lord Wheaton, and he created this pie, and I just couldn't make it because it said that it was not a favorite of many. So it was a recommended starch alternative for people, and it was put out, but at the same time, people didn't like it. They didn't want to eat it. So I was like, I'm not going to make something you don't want to eat. I want to make things that are delicious and are created with the idea of World War II in mind and will save us tons of money, but that are for our modern era that you can actually make and will be delicious. So enjoy. For this first recipe, we're going to make corned beef hash and eggs, and the recipe I had definitely called for making your own corned beef. But here's the issue that I had. I think that back then, if you had one side of corned beef and you were trying to ration it out, which makes sense, you should add some potatoes to that and you're going to get a lot more out of your meat. So corned beef was a very popular recipe during that time. However, these days, for me to buy a side of corned beef and it's not on sale for St. Patrick's Day, it was going to cost me like $15 to $20. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy $15 to $20 worth of meat, and neither are you. But you can get a very inexpensive can of corned beef hash for $2.50, around there, hopefully even cheaper. I think I might have even seen it at Dollar Tree, so that'd be like $1.25. So either way, we're finding a better deal these days on that canned corned beef and hash, and honestly, I think it's quite delicious when you cook it this way. So that's just a personal opinion. Also, very interesting about corned beef hash is that it was found in C rations. They were the packs that the soldiers would carry, and it was a popular thing to find in there, which I think makes sense because it's definitely like a higher calorie food. It gives you a lot of bang for your buck kind of thing. Cooking this, I just like to take my 2 cans of it and put it into a pan over medium-high heat and let it crisp up on both sides. So we're gonna let it cook for about 5 minutes on one side and then flip it over and cook it for another 5 minutes on the other side. Now, if you have a cast iron pan, I recommend you just use that so you can pop it right into your oven, and I actually do not. That's on my list though. I want to get one. So I put mine into a small 8x8 pan, and then I'm going to put my eggs in it, and then we'll pop it in the oven. Now, I was a bit surprised by the addition of the eggs here because eggs were a rationed item. But I guess you could use your eggs for the week for this, or if you're just doing like mostly corned beef and hash and then just having one egg, that seems like a reasonable addition. But I think corned beef hash on its own with some toast or something like that would be delicious as well. So I think the main point to this recipe is that you are using potatoes to kind of fill in that smaller amount of meat that you have. You want to bake this at 325 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, and definitely check on those at the end there to make sure that your eggs don't get overcooked, and also make sure that they're not undercooked. But hey, this is a great reminder of how delicious this breakfast, or you can even have it as a dinner, is, and there's so much flavor here and it's so inexpensive. This next recipe is such a winner. You're gonna actually slide some vegetables into your mashed potatoes. You wanna start by chopping up 3 medium to large size Yukon Gold potatoes. And while you're doing that, you can get a salted pot of water started boiling on the stove. You can just add your potatoes to that water once you've cut them all up. Then I'm just going to shred up 2 carrots. I'm not even going to peel those because they're going to go right into the mash. You won't even know, and you're going to get lots of extra vitamins and minerals from the outsides of them. Same thing with the potatoes. I figured let's not peel those because they are Yukon Gold, so they have a pretty soft skin, and that's also going to give you extra nutrition. Go ahead and add those carrots right to the potatoes in the boiling water, and you can let those boil for about 12 minutes. You want to make sure that your potatoes are super tender and ready to mash when they're done. And just a little tip, I am leaving that wooden spoon in my pot because if you leave it in there, it's unlikely that that water will boil over. And I'm adding about 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter to this. You could use whatever fat you have, especially during the World War II times. You would probably use like drippings or grease, or you may use bacon fat or really anything that is fatty. You just want to mash these up. I'm using a hand masher. If you want to use a hand mixer, that's always a good option as well. And this makes an amazing mash. Like my family absolutely loved it. And I'm like, why would I ever not put carrots in my mashed potatoes from now on? Add in as much salt as you like, and you have a delicious mash to serve with your dinner. In this next recipe, we're going to be making, you guessed it, potatoes. More potatoes, lots of potatoes. I'm using 3 red potatoes, and we're going to make twice baked potatoes. Now, I'm just popping these in the microwave because that's what the recipe said, but I don't think there were microwaves during World War II, so you might want to bake those in the oven, which is totally fine. In the microwave, I stab them with a fork for a little bit and then cook them for 12 minutes. Add to a bowl a 1/4 cup of milk, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1 tablespoon of butter softened, 3/4 of a teaspoon of dried parsley flakes, 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic, a 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then you want to slice your potatoes once they've cooled off. And I think the key to this recipe is although some of these items are going to be, quote, rationed items, we're not using a lot of them, and we're really relying on the potato to be the main source of food and energy in this. And you'll see I am going to serve mine with other things for dinner, but I really think that maybe during World War II, people would just eat these twice baked potatoes like as a meal, as their main source of energy for the day. You want to scoop out the inside of your potato, leaving 1/4 inch thick shells. Add that excess potato to your milk and sour cream mixture. Mash everything together. And then scoop your mixture back into your hollowed out potatoes. You can top this with shredded cheddar or Monterey Jack cheese. And I happen to have a couple of strips of bacon laying around, so I was like, let me crumble that on top. You can also get bacon bits at the Dollar Tree that would taste delicious on top of this. Or if you have like a little bit of crumbled ham, kind of along the same idea. If you have rationed food, you don't have a lot of meat, but you have just like a little bit, you can just add that right on top. And then we're going to bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed these World War II recipes. I hope that they honor those that died for our freedom. Please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have budget meals coming out 3 times a week these days, so you don't want to miss anything. Make sure to hit that notification bell. And if you like these fun era recipes, I'm going to put a Depression era recipe video right up on the screen here for you so you can check it out.